haven't, that might be a resource for you. And I did not mention, if you go to support from the Census homepage, today at 3 o'clock, you can join the Q&A. And so there's been a lot of recent changes. If you have questions about those, the Q&A is a great place to go. So let me get this out of here and let's move on. And so the agenda for today is we're going to have an overview. We introduce the key points, and then we're going to have a discussion about the data submission, then more in-depth discussion about the student subgroups. And then we'll demonstrate the certification process, talk about the reports, and then we'll conclude today's training. And so the overview is just going to be a background discussion about the CalPAD submission. And so, you know, why do we submit data for Fall 1, right? It's basically to meet state and federal requirements. And so some of those state requirements are the local control funding formula, right? We need the enrollment counts so that it could be a part of the LCFF. Also, we need to identify the student subgroups that generate our funding. We need to meet the requirements of the Every Student Succeeds Act. And with that, the remnants of the No Child Left Behind Act. And then we have several important dates. And I'll be honest with you, I had a discussion with Sly about these dates this morning, right? So first and foremost, you have Census Day. The 7th of October, that's which the data is reflective of, okay? It doesn't matter if you're looking at the reports in December, January, November, the enrollment counts, subgroup counts are generally going to be reflective of the students on Census Day, October 7th. The LEA approval date, and so this is a new date for me, right? I didn't see it on the CalPAD's calendar, but under the communications page, there's a letter to a superintendent called the Back to School letter. And the CDE is recommending that LEAs approve their Fall 1 certification on November 20th by November 20th. And the reason why they're providing this guidance is they would like SELPAs to have time to approve the data by December 18th. And what we saw with end of year 4 was if you approve your revision on the week of the deadline, you're not giving your SELPA enough time to do any kind of review of the reports and approving of the data. SELPAs all have many LEAs, mostly not just a single LEA. And so they had to extend the deadline, and they're trying to prevent that, right? And then the amendment deadline is January 29th, okay? And so we're familiar with the SELPA approval and the amendment dates and timelines, but just want you to know that the CDE has officially made a recommendation, and it's in the annual back to school letter of November 20th being the LEA approval date. And so we want to emphasize that the first Wednesday in October is this October 7th, right? A little bit less than three weeks away, is going to be Census Day. Generally, that's when we used to start running your certification errors and reports, but I think they found a way that the snapshots may be processing even today, right? And so that's a little bit different, but you know, the data is still going to be reflective. When you start certifying, it's going to be October 7th. So even if you have snapshots and you submitted your enrollments and you're resolving errors, I would advise no one, do not certify before Census Day. Wait until the 8th, right? They gave you snapshots, I believe, so that you can start earlier. They want LEAs to certify earlier, so they begin the snapshots earlier, but you want to see what the data looks like after October 7th. And later on, Kyron will talk about why you may even wait later, why there may be reason to wait even later. And then the Fall 1 data report, right? What are the general collections of data or counts that are provided, right? The annual LEA enrollment count is active on Fall Census Day. The LEA enrollment count for specific subgroups is represented in the statewide enrollment count. The count of your English language acquisition status, those are grades K through 12, whose primary language is not English, of course. And then the LEA count for special education program plan and related information for children with disabilities 0 to 22. Also remember, those services associated to the special education program plan counts, and students that don't have a program but were tested and referred for services are included in the FALL1 data.